I assume so. I'm live. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey, my wife says hi. She's right there. She's running away because she did not want to be on camera. And I'm like, that's okay. It is time. She's giving me a dirty look because I put her on camera. But if she didn't want to be on camera, she shouldn't have said hey. Or talked to us if I went live, right? Right, okay. So we are ready for Chapter 9 of the Phantom Tollbooth. I am so sorry about last night. Yeah. I didn't get a chance to record early in the day. I was in a car accident. Everything went crazy. I knew I wouldn't be home until like 10 o'clock last night, so I was going to record earlier in the day, but things just went haywire. I'm okay. My car is mostly okay. I wasn't moving. I got hit in a parking lot. But everything went crazy, so I did not get a chance to record last night. I apologize. We are here now for Chapter 9 of the Phantom Tollbooth. It's all in how you look at things. You'll recall last night, the humbug explained the dangerous adventure that it would be for Milo and Tok to go retrieve Rhyme and Reason, and the king was like, "Oh, that's a splendid idea. Matter of fact, humbug, you go with them. Since you know the dangers all so well." So Milo and Tok and the humbug are in the little electric car thing that Milo has, and they are driving away from Dictionopolis, and they're headed towards Digitopolis to get the permission of the Mathematician to go rescue Rhyme and Reason and bring them back to the Kingdom of Wisdom, or the Kingdom of Knowledge, to the City of Wisdom. Let's find out what happens tonight in Chapter 9. It's all in how you look at things. Soon all traces of Dictionopolis had vanished in the distance, and all those strange and unknown lands that lay between the Kingdom of Words and the Kingdom of Numbers stretched before them. It was late afternoon, and the dark orange sun floated heavily over the distant mountains. A friendly cool breeze slapped playfully at the car, and the long shadows stretched out lazily from the trees and bushes. "Ah, the open road!" exclaimed the humbug, breathing deeply, for he now seemed happily resigned to the trip. "The spirit of adventure, the lure of the unknown, the thrill of the gallant quest. How very grand indeed!" Then, pleased with himself, he folded his arms, sat back, and left it at that. In a few more minutes they had left the open countryside and driven into a dense forest. "This is the scenic route, straight ahead to the point of view," announced a rather large road sign. But contrary to its statement, all that could be seen was more trees. As the car rushed along, the trees grew thicker and taller and leafier until, just as they'd hidden the sky completely, the forest abruptly ended and the road bent itself around a broad promontory. Stretching below, to the left, the right, and straight ahead, as far as anyone could see, lay thick, rich green landscape through which they had been traveling. "Remarkable view," announced the humbug, bouncing from the car as if he were responsible for the whole thing. "Isn't it beautiful?" gasped Milo. I don't know," answered a strange voice. "It's all in the way you look at things." "I beg your pardon," said Milo, for he didn't see who had spoken. "I said it's all in how you look at things," repeated the voice. Milo turned around and found himself staring at two very neatly polished brown shoes. For standing directly in front of him, if you can use the word standing for anyone suspended in midair, was another boy just about his age whose feet were easily 3 feet off the ground. And here is a picture of the boy standing 3 feet off the ground at Milo's face. His feet are in Milo's face. His tail wobble. "For instance," continued the boy, "if you happen to like deserts, you might not think this was beautiful at all." "It's true," said the humbug, who didn't like to contradict anyone whose feet were that far off the ground. "For instance," said the boy again, "if Christmas trees were people and people were Christmas trees, we'd all be chopped down, put up in the living room, and covered with tinsel while the trees opened our presents." "What does that have to do with anything?" asked Milo. "Nothing at all," he answered. "But it's an interesting possibility, don't you think?" "How do you manage to stand up there?" asked Milo, for this was the subject which most interested him. "I was about to ask you the same question," answered the boy. for you must be much older than you look to be standing on the ground." "What do you mean?" Milo asked. "Well," said the boy, "in my family, everyone is born in the air with his head at exactly the height it's going to be when he's an adult. Then we all grow toward the ground. When we're finally fully grown up, or as you see, grown down, our feet finally touch the ground. Of course, there are a few of us whose feet never reach the ground, no matter how old we get, but I suppose it's the same in every family." He hopped a few steps in the air, skipped back to where he started, and then began again. "You certainly must be very old to have reached the ground already." "Oh, no," said Milo seriously. "In my family, we all start on the ground and grow up, and we never know how far until we actually get there." "What a silly system!" The boy laughed. "And your head keeps changing its height. You always see things in a different way. Why, when you're 15, things won't look at all the way they did when you were 10, and at 20, everything will change again." "I suppose so," replied Milo, for he'd never really thought about the matter. "We always see things from the same angle," the boy continued. "It's much less trouble that way. Besides, it makes more sense to grow down than not up. When you're very young, you can never hurt yourself falling down if you're in midair. You certainly can't get into trouble for scuffing up your shoes or marking the floor if there's nothing to scuff them on and the floor is 3 feet away." That's very true," thought Tock, who wondered how the dogs in the family liked the arrangement. "But there are many other ways to look at things," remarked the boy. "For instance, you had orange juice, boiled eggs, toast, and jam and milk for breakfast," he said, turning to Milo. "And you were always worried about people wasting time," he said to Tock. "And you were almost never right about anything," he said, pointing at the humbug. "When you are, it's usually an accident." "A gross exaggeration," protested the forlorn bug, who didn't realize that so much was visible to the naked eye. "Amazing," gasped Tock. "How do you know all that?" asked Milo. "Simple," he said proudly. "I'm Alex Bings. I see through things. I can see whatever is inside, behind, around, covered by, or subsequent to anything else. In fact, the only thing I can't see is whatever happens to be right in front of my nose." "Isn't that a little inconvenient?" asked Milo, whose neck was becoming quite stiff from looking up. "It is a little," replied Alec. "But it's quite important to know what lies behind things, and the family helps me take care of the rest. My father sees to things, my mother looks after things, my brother sees beyond things, my uncle sees the other side of every question, and my little sister Alice, she sees under things." "How can she see under things if she's all the way up there?" growled the humbug. "Well," said Alec, turning a neat cartwheel, "whatever she can't see under, she overlooks." "Would it be possible for me to see something from up there?" asked Milo politely. "You could," said Alec, "but only if you try very hard to look at things as an adult does." Milo tried as hard as he could, and, as he did, his feet floated slowly off the ground, till he was standing in the air next to Alec Bings. He looked around very quickly, and an instant later crashed back down to earth again. "Interesting, wasn't it?" asked Alec. "Yes, it was," agreed Milo, rubbing his head and dusting himself off. "But I think I'll continue to see things as a child. It's not so far to fall." "A wise decision, at least for the time being," said Alec. "Everyone should have his own point of view." "Isn't this everyone's point of view?" asked Tock, looking around curiously. "Of course not," replied Alec, sitting himself down on nothing. "It's only mine. You certainly can't always look at things from someone else's point of view. For instance, from here, that looks like a little bucket of water," he said, pointing to a bucket of water. "But from an ant's point of view, it's a vast ocean. From an elephant's, it's just a little drink. And to a fish, of course, it's home. So you see, the way you look at things depends a great deal on where you look at them from. Now come along and I'll show you the rest of the forest." He ran quickly through the air, stopping occasionally to beckon Milo, Tock, and the humbug along, and they followed as well as anyone who had to stay on the ground could. "Does everyone here grow the way you do?" puffed Milo when he'd caught up. "Almost everyone," replied Alec, and then he stopped a moment and thought. "Now and then, though, somebody does begin to grow differently. Instead of down, his feet grow up toward the sky. But we do our best to discourage awkward things like that." What happens to them? Insisted Milo. Oddly enough, they often grow 10 times the size of everyone else, said Alec thoughtfully. And I've heard that they walk among the stars. And with that, he skipped off once again toward the waiting woods. And that is the end of Chapter 9. It's all in how you look at things. Tomorrow night, right here, 9 o'clock on Facebook Live, we're going to read Chapter 10, A Colorful Symphony, which is one of the cooler ideas in the whole book. Is it the next chapter or the next 2 chapters that have the... Yeah, it's the next chapter. It's one of the cooler ideas in the whole book. It's one of the images that really stuck with me the first time I read it. This is my little man. And he wants to say goodnight to everybody.
Good night.
Give him a wave.
I'm about to go in my bedroom and sleep on the floor.
Can you give them a wave? Oh, my little lady's back there waving too. Good night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow night.